Thanks very much for that, Graham. Well, I also want to congratulate the We Are Africa organizers, because to get a hall of people together at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning in Cape Town after a long weekend is quite an achievement. Because at that time of the morning, we're mostly still on the beach or walking on the mountain. So, well done for getting us all together, and thank you for this wonderful platform. I'm going to share a story with you this morning, which I believe should be regarded as one of South Africa's great conservation cons. And I'm going to take you through what I've been doing on this topic for a number of years now, and I'm going to ask you to also put your mind to these issues. Now, one of the factors or characteristics that holds us in this hall today is this notion of responsibility. Am I right? We all regard ourselves as ethical people who make responsible decisions and that we run responsible tourism operations. That's probably the one most important collective factor that holds us together here today. But I'm going to share a story or focus on a group of activities that have seeped into our tourism industry. And I'm going to be asking us the question, by allowing this, have we been living up to our commitments or our claims of being responsible tourism operators? I have 20 minutes to tell my story, or the story, but it's something that I've been following since 1999. Today, folks, in South Africa, there are over 200 facilities that are holding anywhere between 6,000 and 8,000 predators in cages and confined areas. These facilities range from farms, maize farms, cattle farms, chicken farms, to people who are running businesses on small holdings or small reserves. And the predators that they are holding are mostly lions, but a whole range of exotics, tigers, pumas, mountain lions. I've seen gray wolves. And they've also got leopards, cheetahs, wild dogs, right down to the smallest of our cat species. And I say between 6,000 and 8,000 because we don't actually know. Because these are private sector people and these are businessmen. And the only body that controls what they do is an organization called the South African Predator Association. And you don't have to be a member of that association. And even if you are a member of that association, you don't have to submit the statistics as to how many lions or leopards or tigers you have on your property. I've been asking myself the question, why? Why, as a responsible person on this planet, as a responsible tourism operator, as a responsible journalist, why are we in the situation where these animals, wild animals, apex predators, many of them, that require huge space to live natural lives, vital components to healthy, functioning ecosystems, are in cages on confined areas? And I'm sure many of you here today have also been asking that question. Why? So after 16 years of research, this is what I have found. Not one of these facilities have any claims to conservation. Not one. There is no conservation merit in keeping predators in cages or confined areas, breeding them on farms. There is not a single lion ecologist in this country who would look to use any of the lions or predators bred on South Africa's farms for any conservation project. And while lions are in trouble, let me point out that there are no ecologists, lion ecologists, and conservationists in South Africa who are looking to establish new populations of lions at this point in time. And even if they were, as I've already said, they would not use populations or animals that are tame, human imprinted, and genetically contaminated. Very few of these facilities can claim to be genuine sanctuaries. Very few. Sanctuaries do not trade, they do not breed, and they do not interact with the animals on their property. They receive animals. They don't go out and buy animals. And if you look at what goes on many of these properties with regards to the breeding practices, the conditions in which these animals are kept, you will also understand that the sanctuary claims are bogus. And there is very, very little education or awareness value to be had from these facilities. All you need to do is look at that image up on the screen. How do you tell a young kid what's going on there? Do lions and tigers exist together in the wild? Do you see white lions and tigers in the wild? I say these facilities and their educational claims, it's exactly the same with regards to teaching young kids about nutrition and healthy eating habits. You would never take your child to a McDonald's to teach them about good eating habits. You should never take a child to one of these facilities to teach them about conservation and predator ecology. What I've also found is that there is a thriving business model in this country around these predators. And it's based on a number of revenue streams, many of them focused around volunteer programs. Young students, well-meaning students, kids who want to make a contribution are being lured to this country under volunteer programs. The lure, or the primary lure, is this notion of a small lion cub that can be petted and cuddled. And once these cubs reach the age of about 4.5 months, they then get put into a second revenue stream, the walking with lions operations. It's very enticing to come onto a farm and to be able to pet and hold and hug a furry lion cub. And it's fun to go gambling through a woodland area with 3 or 4 lions running behind you. This whole burgeoning industry of the tiger bone wine. Adam has already alluded to where the markets are, mostly in Asia. Folks, the Chinese government banned the trade in tiger parts in 1993 because demand for products which entailed using body parts of tigers was putting pressure on their wild populations. They've now found an alternative. They're using our lion bones. Last year, over 1,000 lion carcasses were exported to the East for their lion bones. That's up from just over 150 in 2009. So let's not kid ourselves that this market is growing dramatically. Then there's the trading and the collectors. Many of our animals that are being bred these predators on our farms in South Africa are going to the Middle East, they're going to Central America, to Asia, to wealthy individuals who are collectors, private collectors. I can show you untold videos of people who have lions, tigers, kept in small confined areas within cities. And then, of course, the one that we're gaining more and more notoriety for year after year is the canned, or what they now try and kid us is captive hunting. You ask our Minister of the Environment if there's canned hunting in South Africa today, and she says no, canned hunting has been banned. And the reason she can say that is because they play with the nuances in the words. And so now it's called captive hunting. So we don't do canned hunting anymore, we do captive hunting. In South Africa last year, close to 1,000 lions were shot on farms in confined areas. These are lions that were bred in captivity to be shot in canned or captive hunts. So how has this all come about? When I started my research into these industries in 1999, there were about 1,000 predators in cages. And funnily enough, there were probably as many tigers back then as there were lions. In 2005, I was tasked by a large international conservation NGO to do a report for the then Minister of the Environment, Minister van Schalkwyk, who has made the only attempt to try and clamp down on these activities. And in that report, I estimated between 3,000 and 3,500 predators in captivity. As I said to you earlier, we're now somewhere close to 8,000 possibly in captivity. So the reason this growth continues is because there are many people out there who are using fraudulent marketing messages about why they do what they do. And they've been allowed to get away with it by the authorities. Become part of the pride. Come and cuddle this lion. Come and walk with this lion. And what they do is they sell themselves as a conservation initiative. They sell themselves as a genuine sanctuary. It's a fraudulent message. The term sustainable use and conservation get thrown around, bandied around. And so anything that involves the use of wildlife in this country, if you tag the banner sustainable use, you're probably going to get away with it. And it's been allowed to happen by our authorities and by the wider community. We have a set of legislation in this country which is not too dissimilar to the rest of the world that allows this to happen. And it allows the authorities to pass the buck. And this happens because we have a Department of Environment who deals with biodiversity concerns involving wild animals. And we have a Department of Agriculture that is concerned with domestic animals under farming conditions on private land. What we have here are wild animals that have been captively bred under domestic conditions. So you go to the Department of Environment, and they tell you those animals, while they are lions, are being kept on farms. It's an agricultural issue. You go to the Department of Agriculture, and they will tell you those are lions, those are wild animals. It's a Department of Environment issue. And so it just falls between the cracks. And folks, that same problem occurs in Europe. I was in the European Parliament in March addressing this issue with European nations, and they have a very similar problem. I guess the legislators are not at fault. When they drew up the legislation, they didn't envisage that lions would be farmed the way they are being farmed in South Africa. Another issue we have to deal with is the law. Wild animals are treated as we treat tables and chairs. They are nothing more than commodities and treated as property. And so you can manufacture and sell. And then we have the stamps of approval. This sign, this billboard, appears in the Free State in South Africa. Welcome to the Lion Route. We have other stamps of approval. People get certificates authenticating what they do. Besides the fraud, what we're doing is we're confusing the conservation messages and priorities, and we are misdirecting vital conservation funding. If nothing gets done about it, folks, by 2020, we could have in excess of 15,000 predators in South Africa being held in cages and confined areas. And so I'm going to leave the audience today with 3 questions. Why have we, as responsible tourism operators, allowed this to happen? Are these activities damaging brand South Africa? We sell ourselves as a responsible destination, ethical country offering ethical products. Are we damaging brand South Africa? And then lastly, how are we going to respond as individuals and as tour companies under the Responsible Tourism banner? My company, Invent Africa Safaris, we have a very strong stand. We do not support any operation that exploits wild animals in any form. No elephant back riding, no walking with lions, no cub petting. Any volunteer groups out there selling volunteer agencies, I'd ask you to consider very strongly about sending volunteers to these farms in South Africa. These are not conservation projects. There are many organizations who run very reputable volunteer programs. Consider sending them on those programs. And then on the hunting issues, if any of you, or if I know hunters, tell them that hunting wild animals in true conditions is what they should be doing. They shouldn't be coming to South Africa to hunt lions under these canned conditions. Thank you very much.